What's going on, everybody? It's Wednesday. It's the 9th of October, 2024. It's 11:15 in the morning here in Germany. This is the Insanity Report for today, and I've got some bad news out of Germany. Once again, Germany is like a really good little soldier boy for the European Union. Okay, so everything that the European Union dictates, Germany wants to be the first one to raise their hand and say, yes, sir, we will do it. Doesn't matter what kind of effect it has on the people of Germany. No, because the politicians want a virtue signal, and they're like globalists, they're Europeans, they don't consider themselves German, they consider themselves European socialites, and they are more in line with what European Union wants to do. And the European Union is an unelected body that basically runs every country that belongs to the European Union. They dictate what those countries should do. So, you know, the country's sovereignty is pretty much dead, except for those countries that choose to go against them. But the countries that go against them, like Poland and Hungary and stuff like that, they get fined. You know, they get punished by the great rulers at the European Union, because they're the ones that apparently have taken it upon themselves to take all the power. Well, the European Union, as you might know, has been very, very busy trying to gain control over people's speech, because, yeah, there's a lot of hate speech, right? Hate speech is pretty much anything the government doesn't agree with or doesn't like, because hate speech only applies in one direction, and that's when anybody that's right of center or right wing or even another political persuasion, but isn't in line with what the government is trying to push. They are extremists, they're right-wing extremists, and they are the ones purporting hate speech. So they have to be censored. Because, as we know, the establishments in all of these Western countries have been drastically ramping up their censorship efforts. Even the United States, that is protected by freedom of speech laws in the Constitution, is doing everything they can. The establishment is doing everything they can to regulate, censor, and control speech online. And the reason for that is not because they're so worried about what trans feelings are hurt, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, anti-Muslim hate and anti-Semitism. They're not worried about any of that shit. They are worried about regaining control of the public narrative, which they used to have control of when there was no internet, no social media, and only 4 or 5 TV stations that basically put out information and news that was sanctioned by the government, as we know now. So we didn't know that we were being manipulated back then because there was no way to, you know, check it. Now with the internet, we know that we're being fucking lied to by these establishment media Pravda mouthpieces, and we probably have been lied to all along. You know, it's just that at the time before internet, they never could have assumed that there would be a way for the mass majority of the public to wake up to the fact that they're being manipulated by what is essentially government Pravda. So now we know. And the establishments don't like that, because, you see, the establishments that are currently running the show are almost uniformly left-wing ideologue establishment people. They're the people in line with the globalists. They're in line with one world government. They're in line with all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Open borders, the whole thing. It's every Western country, right? And the only way these people have been able to get into power and keep their power is by manipulating and lying to the public. Because if the public massively understood what these people are all about, they would never vote for them again. And that's what's happening. We see it all over the Western world. We see wins in our direction. I mean, in a lot of countries in Europe, people are voting for the right-wing populist candidates and parties. And it's happening everywhere. It's happening here in Germany, too. The establishments all over these Western countries where this is happening are trying their damnedest through lawfare and otherwise to keep these people out of power, but they are still not winning the hearts and minds of the voters anymore. So while they might be able to remain in power through legal and political trickery and sometimes outright fraud, that's not changing the minds of the public. And the public is going to start voting ever more to the right or ever more radical parties, the worse that this gets. So it's backfiring on them, but as with Kamala Harris in America, the establishment people don't seem to understand that it's backfiring on them. And if they do understand it, then they've got a bigger plan up their sleeve, or they're going to move into hard totalitarianism, which right now we're in soft totalitarianism in every Western country, pretty much, except for those countries that are reclaiming their sovereignty and reclaiming their politics. But the rest of us are under soft totalitarianism, including America. And it could be that these ideologues are going to switch to hard totalitarianism at some point, but hopefully by then enough people will have woken up and gotten these people away from the levers of power so that doesn't happen. Now, you may have heard the European Union is one of the, frontliners on censoring their citizens here in Europe. And they have got something called the Digital Services Act that they want to implement in every country. What basically that will do is it will make it mandatory for social media companies and others that are on the internet to censor when told to by the government. But a lot of these governments are running into problems with their own constitutions, you see, because while we don't have freedom of speech here in Germany as well protected as it is in the United States, we do have a law that is in our constitution here that is quite similar. Now the law does prohibit much more than it does in the States. It's not down to strict incitement. You can also get fined or arrested for insults and stuff like that. So if it's a grave insult to somebody, then you could, have to go to court over it or something like that. So there are some things that are not protected under the freedom of opinion laws here in Germany, but most things are. You can say pretty much anything legally. Now, for a while, I think last year or the year before, the German government decided to put up a snitch office. Basically, citizens of Germany can call into the snitch office, toll free, and snitch on people who are purporting either disinformation, misinformation, hate speech, etc. And the government already admitted, we know that these things are not illegal, but we want people to be able to report also things that are within the law, but not morally correct. So basically not politically correct. So this is a snitch office that isn't really official, but it is official because the government set it up. Anyway, they know they're running into problems with the idea that the government is going to be able to call social media companies and just have them censor whatever they want, because there are laws protecting the citizens against that kind of behavior, like the freedom of speech law in America does for the citizens of the United States. So the Digital Services Act that the European Union wants to implement won't really work if the governments can't censor the people by their own laws. Now, there are certain European countries where by law the government can involve themselves in censorship, but Germany isn't one of them. So, since Germany's always front of the class, the best boy in the class to the European Union, they bow to the European Union, the rulers, right? And so they want to show how good they are. They want to show how awesome they are. And so they have licensed their first official flagger. That's what they're calling them, right? It's basically like an NGO that gets funded by the government, almost like every NGO, right? It's hilarious how they call themselves everything that they do is opposite day, right? They call themselves NGOs, non-government organizations, and yet they are GOs. They're government organizations because they're funded by the government. Now, they're going to call these NGOs official flaggers, right? Official flaggers. I don't know if I may have fucked the name up a little bit. Anyway, they're called official flaggers. Let's put it like that. It's flaggers, but I don't know if it's official or another word that goes in front. But it's official flaggers, and they license them. So the government licensed their first official flagger. It's an NGO or a nonprofit, something like that. That is called Respect, right? And the kicker's coming. Just wait. I'm going to tell you this is crazy, okay? So they have been anointed the first official flagger. They've been licensed, and what the government, the authorities on this, there's a government bureaucracy that deals with the internet lines and the phone lines and the electric lines, and the head of this department in the government has come out on TV explaining and proudly explaining how Germany has licensed their first official flaggers, and these organization is called Respect, and under the DSA rules, And here it comes, people. Under the DSA rules, respect the social media companies by law must react immediately when a post gets flagged by Respect or any other official flagging organization. And so that's how the government has gotten themselves out of the firing line, right? Because the government can't call social media and say, no, this is legal speech, but you've got to censor it anyway. That won't work, right? They can't do that. They'll have too many court cases, too much bureaucracy, too much BS, and it's not going to work. But since the European Union has demanded that the social media companies adhere to the flags that are given to them by the official flaggers, such as the Respect organization, right? They have to react immediately and they have to act immediately. And since the guy from the net agency, right, in the government said, now we don't have to worry about all the bureaucratic hurdles. In other words, we don't have to worry about court cases or judges or lawsuits or shit like that, because it's not the government doing it. It's this anointed organization called Respect. And here's the kicker, right? Germany, like every other Western European country, has been having a massive problem with immigration into our countries, both legal and illegal, but mostly by young men from Muslim countries who are basically taking over the streets and are starting to take over politics like in Britain, okay? And they are, there's also a lot of crime associated with these immigrants. There's a lot of non-assimilation associated with these immigrants. The politicians are losing their positions in these countries because they refuse to do anything about the immigration from Muslim countries specifically, right? They refuse to do anything about it, and so they are getting kicked out of power. Thank God it's happening, okay? But the CEO of this organization that is funded by the German government, right, and the European Union, and maybe they get donations and some shit, but probably most of the money is coming from the government, right? The CEO is an Islamist, right? An Islamist man, a young man. I don't know if he was born here or not, doesn't matter. He is on camera wearing his full turban Islamist outfit, right? No problem, he's allowed to be an Islamist, but it's weird that he is going to decide now what is hate speech and disinformation. He's also been involved. They've already researched this guy. All journalists have already looked into this dude. And he's also been part of large anti-Muslim hate groups. Oh, so I bet he's not going to have anybody censored that talks about the war in Israel or what the Muslims are, the callings for caliphate on our streets. And when people are critical about mosques and about the way that the Muslims treat the women and about the way the Muslims don't integrate into our societies and about the way that they treat the host citizens, the murders, the crime, I'm sure that won't fall under hate speech when Mr. Ali Baba, whatever the fuck his name is the head of the organization that is anointed by the government to censor the citizens. I mean, look how ridiculous this is, dude. This is 1984, George Orwell, like in its building stages, right? This is how it starts, with stuff like this. So now the government can pat itself on the back and say, look, European Union, we anointed our first official flagger, right? Official flagger. So now we've given an Islamist the power to censor German citizens. Oh my God. Again, and this is the message in almost every video, guys. The message is, you've got to vote these people out of power. No matter who comes in their place, almost nothing can be worse in this day and age, right? There's no way we're getting another Hitler or any shit like that. None of the countries around us will stand for that. That's never going to happen. You're dealing with a completely different public in a completely different time. Don't worry. But, some right-wing parties would probably be good. It doesn't matter if you agree with everything they say or not. What matters is they're not going to be the ones that are going to do everything 1984 style. We've got to get these people away from power. We all know it. We all see it. It's time for people to start taking action. Speaking up, speaking out. I'm going to send a video to this Respect organization today or tomorrow telling them what I think about them. They're snitches. They're little whiny snitch bitches, and they're getting protected by the teacher. Right? You know what I'm saying? These people need to be bullied. I'm sorry. Okay? So respect, get ready for a lot of hate coming your way on Twitter if you have an account there. I'm going to find you. I'm going to look you up. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about you guys because you guys are bitches, right? Snitch bitches. No, don't agree. Sorry. And especially since you're getting my tax money to do your snitching. You little fucking punk. You know what I'm saying? It's a good thing we're not in high school because I would bully you all day and whoop your little ass all day until you learned your lesson not to go telling the teacher about everything. Yeah, then you'd be part of the cool kids club. But right now you're a little bitch, and that's how I'm going to look at you. And I think everybody should look at these organizations like that. They're useless. They're against you, and they're getting your money to do it. That's why these people, these leftist ideologues that are in power currently in the remaining Western countries where they're in power, have to be removed. Let's be honest. Okay? This is crazy. So now I'm going to have a radical Muslim censoring me. You know? Oh my God. Holy shit. German people should be pissed, right? Y'all should be pissed. This is just like what's happened in the States, so it's more rubbing it in the regular citizens' faces that these people can do whatever they want, they continue to do whatever they want, and they're going to remain in power. Well, we've got to show them they're wrong. It's time to show them they're wrong. People, please, put your emotions aside and just vote the right way. Please. We've got to get these maniacs away from power. Look at what they're doing. And it's not just this, there's thousands of examples. If I had to go through all of them every video, I would have 3-hour-long videos every fucking day, just listing off the things that these people that are currently in power are doing to hurt us. They don't care about us at all. And look, they don't have to. They just don't have to be actively working against my interest either. Okay? That's all I want. I don't want them to love me or wipe my ass. I want them to not be working against me. And that's what everybody should want. That's the logical thing for people to want. If you put your emotions to the side and just vote the right way, vote in your own interest. Please. People, please. All right, guys, I've got an important message for you that I'm going to include in a lot of these insanity reports, so it's going to become repetitive. But my buddy K-Mag in the States, he's in Texas, he's on Rumble, he's on Substack, he puts out good content, he's a smart dude, and everything that he does is to be able to raise money to fund equipment that actual, what would you call them? You know what I mean? Have you ever seen Sound of Freedom? Sound of Freedom, the guys that go undercover to try to rescue these kids, well, that's who K-Mag funds, right? Because child sex trafficking is a giant industry and it needs to be taken down, and the governments aren't doing anything to take it down. And donating to some big NGO or big organization that claims they're busy doing that is also paying thousands and thousands of dollars in salaries and, you know, paying for all kinds of stuff that's not necessary. So barely any of the money is actually going into child rescue. And these people, the Sound of Freedom type people, they're actually getting things done. But they have to operate with money. They need prepaid phone cards, they need parabolic mics, they need surveillance equipment, cameras, etc., because they have to embed themselves in these areas where they think this child trafficking is going on in order to be able to gain enough evidence that the police, the actual authorities, will actually do anything to go after it. So basically they're doing the authorities' jobs for them, but unfortunately that's the way it is on every front today in Western countries, is that what the government and government agencies and authorities are there for, they are all abdicating on their responsibilities on every single front, and everything is being left up to the citizens to solve themselves, and stopping child sex trafficking is no different. And so if you want to actually have your money go to something that works, then go support K-Mag. I'll put all the links down below in the description. You can support him on Substack, you can support him on Rumble, you can donate to his Give, Send, Go, you can send him crap out of your house that you don't want anymore and you're too lazy to put on eBay. Send it to him, he'll put it on eBay, he'll do all the work and use the money to help save children from child sex trafficking. I don't think there's a better cause to donate to. As a matter of fact, if you were going to subscribe to my Substack for money, it costs $5 a month. Please do, but do it next month and give this month's $5 to my buddy K-Mag. The links are down below. Don't forget to check it out. You know, all you have to do is subscribe to his Rumble channel for free or subscribe to his Substack for free, and you're already helping, right? But donations would be better, of course, because these operations do cost money, people. And they're doing work that the government can't do and won't do if they could. Okay? So if you want to actually help children, K-Mag's the guy to be on board with, right? Check him out. I'll put the links below. For the rest of you guys, if you want to subscribe to my Substack, please do. The links are below. You'll get all the Insanity Report videos. You'll get the weekly rant. You'll get podcast recommendations. I'm going to do something new here soon. You'll also get all the articles I write, which are pretty detailed, pretty long. People seem to like them, so you can join my Substack for free or for $5 a month, like I said, but give the first month to K-Mag. And yeah, I'd rather you do that than follow me in other places. Although if you are watching this video in other places, go ahead and follow me there, Rumble, X, etc. But the best thing to do would be to come to itsallaboutlogic.substack.com. It's all about logic, one word, .substack.com, and subscribe there, free or for $5 a month, because that's all concentrated. Like you'll get the content to your inbox delivered immediately as soon as it's published, instead of having to wait for a link and a recommendation on YouTube, whatever your feed. All that shit is a lot more irritating than it does anything. If you want to make sure you get all my content, subscribing to Substack's the way to do it. So check it out, and see you guys on tomorrow's Insanity Report, people. See you then.